Hey guys, Matt Bernier here. I'm going to show you another time-saving automation. This time it's about how to send a customer a PDF copy of their invoice automatically when they book their job. Now this automation is going to use three tools. You're going to need a make.com account. You're going to need a Tave account, obviously. And for the third tool, you're going to need a RapidAPI account. Now that third tool, there's a specific tool within there we're going to be using called Scraping Ant. And there is a free subscription, which should get you more than enough use out of it. But if you do need to go over the 500 per month limit, there's a small cost to do so. So let's get started. Now for the first step, we will start off in our make.com account. And of course, you are welcome to shortcut this entire process and download my blueprint in the description if you prefer. If we download my blueprint, you'll simply import it into a new scenario here. Open, and it will be built out for you with the need to only change a few things. The first is you're going to need to create a webhook listening address, which you can do by clicking add. Give it a name. In this case, Tave booked order is appropriate. Save it and copy the address to your clipboard. Now, before we go forward, we're going to go back into Tave and we're going to implement this webhook so that we can feed it dummy data or live data and use it in our later steps. So let's go into Tave and visit our automations page. Make sure you set up an automation for the job milestone reached booked, execute immediately, of course, enable the automation, and then you just need to set one action. I've already created this action, so you can just copy it here, but essentially all you need to do is paste that URL you were just given from your make.com account, add a question mark at the end, and then add this string and API underscore ID equals this job UL ID, exactly as you see it typed out here. What this is going to do is when a job is booked, it's going to push the Tave API ID for that job into our automation so that we can process the data from there. Now, once this is saved, we'll need a job to work with. So create a dummy job. If you don't already have one in your account, make sure it's marked as a lead, and then just go ahead and mark it as booked. Now, once it's marked as booked, you can go back into your make.com account. You can run this automation once at the bottom left by clicking run once, and the job should flow through. But if you've waited a few seconds and you still don't see it, you may need to go back into the job, mark it as a lead again, and then mark it as booked one more time to give it another chance to push that data. Now, once it's been pushed, you'll see the bubble with 1 appear showing that it has processed that data, and you'll get this API ID filled out here. For the next step, you're going to need to connect your Tave API, which if you haven't done any of my prior videos, you won't have your credentials in here. So just click the add button, give it a name, Tave API, so you can reference this and use it later. Your API key can be accessed from within your Tave settings under API integrations. And when you click to create a new API, you'll be given that key. And as I mentioned before, save a copy of your key because it does get redacted so that you can continue to use it in the future for other automations like this. Paste it in here and make sure you give it the name x-api-key. Then click create. You'll want to make sure your URL is exactly as you see it here, and that job API ID is being referenced from the step before it with a get method. After that step, we have another Tave step that's going to get all of the contacts on that job so that we can reference them in the email. So here's your URL for that. Again, we're referencing that same ID as a get request. Now, after this step, we have an iterator step, and this is processing all of the job contacts from the prior step, which you can see is mapped out here by simply going to our data dropdown and then our contacts here. Click OK. And now in between our job iterator contact step and our array aggregator step, we're going to need to add a filter. First, let's configure the array aggregator. For the source module, we're choosing the prior module, job contacts. And for the iterator step here, we're choosing contact as the fields. Go ahead and click OK, and then add a filter in between these steps. Now the filter is going to check and see if the contact in reference is a client. So what this is going to allow us to do is send an email only to those listed as a client on the job and ignore everyone else. For the condition, choose role kinds, which you'll see listed under the dropdown here for role kinds. Click the main array to add that, choose contains, and type in client. Now we can move to the tools set multiple variables step. And on this step, we're doing three things. We're going to set the primary email so that this is only addressed to one to address. And we're doing that by mapping the array that we just pulled in the previous step. We're searching for the email of the sub contact dropdown here. And we're going to return the email if it's the first one in the array. Kind of complex, but it just means we're only pulling the first email of the returned client list. Now for the second variable name, I've named it CC. This is where we're pulling everything but the first email to create our CC list. That way, when we send out the email, all the other clients on the job will get CC'd on it, but we're not addressing it to them or sending out multiple emails. So go ahead and type this exactly as you see here. Of course, replacing the array step with your matching step flow from your own scenario. And for the last variable, we're going to choose name, and we're going to pull the first contact name from that client list that's going to match the first email up here. That way we can address this email to someone. Now with that done, we can move on to the next step, which is our RapidAPI call. So you're going to need to create a RapidAPI account first, which you can do by going to rapidapi.com and signing up for a new account in the corner. Once you have that account, you're going to want to search for an API called Scraping Ant. You'll see it pop up here with the little rocket ship. And if you click on pricing, you'll see we have several plans listed. You want to subscribe to the basic plan, which is going to be free for up to 500 of these emails per month. So if you get under 500 bookings a month, then you don't have to pay a cent. If you get more than that, then I think you can afford an extra fraction of a cent for additional bookings. Now to subscribe, you'll need a credit card. It's not going to charge you. That's just so it can charge if you go over that 500 monthly limit. Once you are subscribed, you can go to this endpoints tab here to get your API keys, which we'll need to pass back into your make.com account. Now with everything as is, let's just change on the left-hand side here to go into the post HTML scraping so that we get the correct address. Now you'll want to copy the URL exactly as you see it listed here inside the quotation brackets and paste it into your make.com HTTP post request step in the URL field. Do the same thing for the x-RapidAPI-key, and you're going to put that in the matching corresponding name field, as well as the x-RapidAPI host. And the last thing is adding this third header called content-type application/JSON, then scroll down. For the body type, it's going to be raw JSON application, and for the request content, you're going to put exactly what you see here. Inside of these quotation marks, I'm referencing the data items client href step from step 61 in my case, which if we go back is this very first bubble. So if we click into this blank space and we scroll down to our second step in the automation, you'll find it under data, items, links, self, and it's the client href step here. Once that's done, you can click OK. Then we'll need to add a text parser step. Now this text parser step is going to use this regex pattern. So it's actually pulling up the web page that the clients would normally see. It's finding the print invoice button on there, and then it's clicking on it for us so that we can process that PDF and attach it to the email. So this is going to need to be exactly as you see it here. If you have changed any settings in your Tave account, such as custom CSS to change it from print to download or anything of that sort, this may differ. So make sure you're using the default Tave invoice settings if you want this to work right out of the box. Now down here for the text, we're going to reference the step before, which is the data step, as you can see here. Click OK. And for the HTTP get file step, this is just going to be a plain HTTP get file request. And we're going to choose the URL from the prior step. And finally, for our final step, we're going to send the email. So add a Gmail or email bubble, whichever email account you use. You'll obviously need to connect your account if you're not currently connected. And for the email options, you're going to want to choose the to as the email primary from that set multiple step variable step. Of course, give it whatever subject line you want. You can draft your email as a full HTML, so you can, of course, do whatever you'd like in here. But the few things that you will absolutely need are going to be this 119 name field. So again, that set multiple variables name step, just so we address it to one person. And then right here is the link. I chose to attach the PDF copy of the invoice and also give them a link in case they want to go into the order and see if there's a balance due. So this is optional, but if you want to give them that link, it's referenced here in that second step of the automation under data, items, links, same thing as before, self, client href, and then to attach the PDF as a file to this email, choose attachments, file, and it'll automatically map to the prior step. Now for the content ID, I just chose file name, which you can see here from the prior step. You can also have a random number, but click on something just so that it has a way to reference it in the email. And then finally, I've added this copy recipient step, and you can see I have this join command followed by, in that set multiple variable step, I'm selecting the CC array so that it separates with a comma all of the additional emails on that job, whether it be 1 CC or 10 potential other clients on the job, everyone will get copied. With all that done, click OK. Make sure you turn on the scheduling of this automation at the bottom left, but of course, if you want to test it out first, just click run once. And if you don't get this command to process unprocessed data, just go back into your job, change it from a lead back to booked, and it will trigger that webhook appropriately so that you can come back in here and test this data. So I'm going to go ahead and run it using the existing data. You'll see it process. We can see the contacts that it grabbed. There's 2 clients on this job, just as we can see inside of our actual job here. And then, of course, the email, it downloaded that PDF and it's drafting and sending that email now. So it looks like we have a success. And now if we have a look at our inbox, you can see what the email looks like when it comes through. And we have our PDF copy of the invoice attached, and then also a link to their original record in case they want to go there and make any additional payments or just check out their original order. So there you have it. That's how you automate the sending of an invoice from a booking in your Tave account. I hope that helps save you some time. And again, if there's any automations that you'd like to see in the future for your business, just let me know in the comments. I'd be happy to help out. Thanks for watching.